Hello, and welcome to the English Listen Lab. Today, we have an engaging story for English learners at the A1 level. This story follows Mark, a man in his 30s who decides to make a big change in his life. Along the way, he faces new experiences, learns important lessons, and grows as a person. Listen carefully, enjoy the story, and try to understand the words and phrases as you follow along. Mark's new chapter. Chapter 1. A life-changing decision. Mark is 35 years old. He has worked at the same company for 10 years, but he feels stuck. Every day feels the same, and he is no longer excited about his job. One evening, as he sits alone in his apartment, he realizes that he needs a change. After weeks of thinking, he decides to quit his job and start something new. It is a scary decision, but he feels relieved. This is my chance to do something meaningful, he tells himself. He updates his resume and starts applying for jobs in a different industry. He also considers moving to a new city for a fresh start. Chapter 2. Stepping into the unknown. A month later, Mark gets an interview for a job in another city. The job is in a field he has always been interested in, digital marketing. He feels nervous but excited. He takes a train to the city, looking at the tall buildings and busy streets through the window. During the interview, Mark talks about his past work experience and his motivation for changing careers. He is honest about his lack of experience in marketing, but emphasizes his willingness to learn. The interviewer smiles and says, "We appreciate your enthusiasm. We will get back to you soon." After the interview, Mark walks around the city, imagining himself living there. He feels hopeful. A few days later, he receives a call. He got the job. His new journey is about to begin. Chapter 3. A new city, a new life. Mark moves to the new city and settles into a small apartment. Everything feels unfamiliar. The streets, the people, and even the way life moves. He misses his old routine, but he reminds himself why he made this decision. On his first day at work, he meets his team. They are friendly and welcoming, but the tasks are challenging. He makes mistakes, but asks questions and takes notes. By the end of the week, he starts feeling more comfortable. Outside of work, he explores the city, trying new restaurants and visiting parks. He slowly builds a new routine. He realizes that change is difficult, but it also brings growth. Chapter 4. Overcoming doubts. After a month, Mark begins to doubt himself. He struggles to keep up with the work, and sometimes he feels lonely. Did I make the right decision? He wonders. He thinks about going back to his old job, where everything was familiar. One evening, he calls his old colleague, Sarah. She listens to his worries and says, "Mark, growth is uncomfortable, but remember why you left. You wanted more than just comfort." Her words encourage him. He decides to focus on improving. He takes an online course to learn more about marketing. Slowly, he starts feeling more confident. Chapter 5. Finding balance. As time goes on, Mark begins to feel more settled. His work improves, and he builds connections with his colleagues. He also makes friends outside of work, joining a local running group and attending weekend events. One evening, he sits on his balcony drinking tea and looking at the city lights. He thinks about how much he has changed. This was the right decision, he says to himself. Life is still challenging, but he feels alive, learning and growing every day. Chapter 6. Embracing challenges. Mark starts to settle into his new job and city, but challenges continue to arise. The workload increases and he feels overwhelmed at times. Instead of giving up, he reminds himself why he made this change. He learns to manage his time better and seeks advice from his colleagues. Slowly, he becomes more confident in his abilities. One evening, his manager calls him in. "Mark, I see a lot of improvement in your work. Keep going." These words motivate him, proving that persistence pays off. Chapter 7. Unexpected friendships. As Mark becomes more comfortable, he begins forming new friendships. One weekend, his colleague invites him to a hiking trip. At first, Mark hesitates. He has never been much of an outdoor person, but he decides to go. The hike turns out to be an amazing experience. He connects with people from different backgrounds, sharing stories and laughter. Mark realizes that stepping out of his comfort zone brings unexpected joy. He starts attending more social events, making his new city feel more like home. Chapter 8. A Test of Patience. Not everything goes smoothly. Mark faces a difficult project at work with tight deadlines and high expectations. At one point, he feels like quitting. However, he remembers his conversation with Sarah, his old colleague. "Growth is uncomfortable," she had said. He takes a deep breath, organizes his tasks, and seeks help from his team. The project turns out to be a success, and his manager praises his dedication. Mark learns that resilience and teamwork are key to overcoming challenges. Chapter 9. Finding Purpose. After several months, Mark realizes that he has truly changed. He is no longer the person who feared leaving his old job. He has learned to adapt, to challenge himself, and to build meaningful relationships. He also starts mentoring a new employee, sharing his own experiences. Helping others gives him a sense of fulfillment, reinforcing that his decision to change his life was the right one. Chapter 10. Looking Ahead. One evening, Mark sits on his balcony, looking at the city lights. He reflects on his journey, the doubts, the struggles, and the victories. He smiles, knowing that he has grown into a stronger, more confident person. As he sips his tea, he thinks about the future. He knows that life will continue to present challenges, but now he is ready to face them head-on. "This is just the beginning," he says to himself. Thank you for listening to Mark's story. We hope this helps you improve your English listening skills. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can listen to more fun lessons. Do you have any thoughts about Mark's journey? Or do you have ideas for future stories? Leave a comment below and share your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time on the English Listen Lab. Goodbye and happy learning.